Hey guys, today we're taking a look at the Advanced Zi Death Saurer from Takara Tomy, and boy, there's a lot to look at here. We're going to unbox this thing. I've got some pointers to help you avoid making the same mistakes I did during the build, and we'll take a look at its gimmicks, compare it to the original Death Saurer, and we'll also check it out in action, of course. Now, buckle up, because this is going to be a long one.
Robo Shop.
Right, sorry folks, but I have to actually subject you to the ungodly mess that is my modeling workshop here, because this box is hard to get into frame. If you look at the front here, it doesn't look that big. It's actually the same dimensions as the other AZ boxes have been so far, but if I flip it over, you can see I'm pretty sure it's twice as deep as the Ligers that have come out so far. So yeah, there's likely to be a lot of stuff in this. But let's take a look at the box first. I'm sure by now everybody has seen this image, right? And then we have this this cool, like, really stylish background here. It definitely looks like it looks like an AZ box. They've all been like this. It says here Death Saurer, dinosaur type. We have the T-Spark logo here for the first time. The others didn't have that. And also it says Advanced Zi-07 here. Then on the side, we just have, this is the background from the front, of course. On this side, we have this picture. I cannot actually get this in the frame. And here, there's the same thing, actually. And on the reverse, also just the background. So luckily, nothing too important to look at because I couldn't show it to you anyway. Here we have a different picture, and I will say that I'm a little concerned about this gap in the neck here in the upright pose. Be interesting to see what this actually looks like in real life. It says here that there's an LED in the head, that it walks. We have another smaller picture here of the neck forward pose, and this is what appears to be like the inner skeleton with all of the armor parts removed. And that's a lot of armor parts, folks. Also seems to have some really cool pilot figures that we're going to check out in a minute. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the box. I also honestly cannot wait anymore. So we're just going to get this box open. Here on the side, come on. Okay, it has. Oh man, this is gonna be a problem. Okay. Sorry, already had to do an edit in the unboxing just because the box is too damn big. Unbelievable. And I have no idea what I'm looking at here. We have the instructions and stickers. Looking basically like an NJR sticker sheet. I'm going to take a look at this afterwards. And then let me see what's in this box. Alright, we have a gearbox, which looks completely different from the other ones, of course. Well, not of course. I was actually wondering if it would somehow be built on top of the regular AZ, or Masterpiece, I should say, gearbox. This sprue is for some reason packaged along with the motor. And this is me throwing the cardboard across my apartment in case you're wondering. Yeah, we've got some painted pistons here. No painted parts on this red sprue. Don't really see why this had to be packaged the way it was. Seems like sort of a last-minute decision at the factory. Okay, I'm going to take everything out pretty quickly because we're going to go through the sprues in a minute. The gold parts are painted. Here's a sprue with the torso halves and the teeth. Here we have clear parts, black parts, caps, gray mechanical pieces, armor, and black armor, red parts. There's a bunch of gray stuff here. This looks like fingers. A lot of red and black, of course. And here's the last sprue. So one thing's for sure, we have a lot of parts to look at. Let me get rid of this box and set everything up for the rest of this unboxing. Alright folks, there will be no logic attached to this unboxing because there's so many parts here. I'm just going to have to do this in whatever way I can actually move the parts around this limited amount of space I have here. There are a lot of these gold, what I'm guessing are cannon barrels here that are molded in yellow, and then they are painted gold, which I have to say looks pretty good. They also left out these pegs on the side here, probably because these have to move, so that's nice, well executed. Also, the teeth are painted, which I'm sure is going to look great. I'm not taking all the painted parts out of the backs because I don't want to damage the paint, right? And then we have these big, huge, giant silver pistons here. This piece looks like it goes on the back, and it has, it's molded in red, and then this part is actually painted a different tone of red. I also noticed taking the parts out of the backs that there seem to be two different tones of red going on here. And then we have some less interesting stuff here. This is, well, it's not that uninteresting. This is obviously the head here and a whole bunch of like pieces that with like fans on them. This is one of the classic weapon parts. So it does not come with that weapon sprue that had this on it and the cannons that go on the nose and all that stuff. This is all completely new. I am going to hopefully remember to do a quick comparison though, because we also have, you know, these here. This is a bit lame. You see here, this has these tubes on the side here, but the space between the tubes and the actual cannon is filled because there needs to be room for this thing here where the pegs attach. Fingers, a pilot figure that looks to be a little bigger than a standard Zoid's pilot. Another identical sprue with another pilot, and or is it identical? Yes, it is. I just looked at the other one. No, oh yeah, this has to be here because of the fingers, right? And then we have all of these like hinges and pistons that are all molded in gray and painted silver, looking very nice. A bunch of very interesting red mechanical pieces that seem to be molded in, it doesn't say. Seems to be, I don't know if this is ABS. It's a little too soft to be ABS. And then we have, this is armor. Lots of nice detail, a lot of familiar shapes if you already have a Death Saurer. And then we have a whole bunch of clear pieces. Not sure what's going to happen. I mean, these look like they all go on the head. I'm not sure about these though. I mean, this is obviously covers the eyes and this goes on top. We know that. And then this, I have no idea what this is. It says here inner cap. It looks to me like, because you also get these, which also don't actually look like standard masterpiece caps. So it looks to me like they've come up with something new here for sort of how the parts are held together. These mechanical bits that you see here in the top left corner, by the way, are all, they were loose. They don't come on a sprue. And this is definitely ABS because this needs to be smooth and hard, right? And then here we have the torso halves, of course. Just judging by this, it looks like this thing is going to be pretty much the same size as the original Death Saurer. Then next we have this black sprue with a whole bunch of armor parts. This looks like, I don't know, back of the head. I'm actually not sure. This should go on the back and hold like the rotating fan that drives the particle cannon. Mechanical stuff. Another pilot figure. Oh, this is the this is the dude from Chaotic Century. Doesn't come with a way to make him stand on the shoulder though. Arf, arf. Yeah, more mechanical. This is actually, yeah, this is not the same color as the rest of the armor. This is actually metallic gunmetal, and these bits are just black. And then we have an example of the two different tones of red that you can see. I don't know how well this is showing up on camera, but a whole lot of these red pieces that are like inner detail. It's probably going to go under the armor somehow. And this is, you know, the missile launcher on the back, and the or is it on the back? Yes, it is on the back. And the fan for the charged particle cannon. These red detail inserts for the armor. I think this is the biggest sprue. Has what appears to be legs, some sort of grill that looks like it goes where the fan for the back goes. I'm not sure how that works. This is like gunmetal metallic again, looking nice and sparkly. Here are the toes, same gray as the fingers, of course. A couple of mechanical pieces. More armor. This is, yeah, this is gray. These are black. These are gray. So they're going the real gray Gundam multicolor route with this, apparently. More gunmetal pieces. I don't know what this is. This looks like somewhere on the inside, actually, because these are concave, right? So I don't know. Not a clue. Not a clue what these are. These are obviously feet. Gunmetal pieces with slots here where the toes go. And then we have another gunmetal piece. It's a lot more gunmetal than black here, surprisingly. Now look at all this detail on these neck pieces here. Tubes and grills and pistons and more tubes and more grills and more pistons. And here, looks like this goes on the tail. And then we have these armor pieces. This looks like leg, and this looks, no, actually these all look like leg. This is the brighter black tone here, more like dark gray. And more of the gray armor. I'm actually seeing, like, I think these might be the only ones that are actually black. More gray armor, head. It's weird how these are at an angle. The rest of this, this looks like tail, but the rest of this I actually have no idea where it goes. And finally, another big red sprue with, these are the arms, and the rest, I have no idea. Okay, let me clear this off so that we can look at the instructions. Before we do that though, this is the gearbox. Trying to figure out what does what here. And power switch, then we have the cranks, the rotating pegs for the cranks to attach to, I should say. This is where the rotating fan goes, so I'm not sure why there's another rotating piece here. We're going to find out. This is obviously the neck, and you can see that it moves. Batteries go here. This is the light that goes in the head. It's very old school, like this little light piece here that's probably gonna go like around here or something. And yeah, that's the gearbox. Damn, man, just this unboxing has a ton of edits in it already. Alright, instructions. Nothing here that we haven't already seen on the box. Let's take a look at how this thing goes together. We have a parts list. These are all the loose pieces, and these are all the sprues. And then we start by putting the first couple of pieces on the gearbox. Oh, there's I didn't even notice that. This is looks okay. Yeah, if you look at it closely, you can see it. This is a Zoid core, actually. Looks like it probably lights up too. And this is cool. This is like the belly basically, right? And the batteries actually go in a different place, if I remember correctly. And yeah, then we put the head together, these pistons that attach here and look like they're actually gonna work. We have this is how you attach the rotating fan here. And then the sides, the torso armor. And I'm still trying to figure out, you know, this here, this is this, and I'm still wondering what that does. Yeah, this is the mechanical bits for the legs. Actually, two parallel ones, actually kind of similar to the way it the way the original motorized model works. This is kind of interesting. You see, this is like sort of the basic like scaffold for the leg, and then this just sort of plucks on top of that. Yeah, then we do the other leg, and more leg stuff. Takes forever to put those together, of course. This is how the arms go together, and I still don't know what goes on the back where this nothing. You see here? Yeah, armor, and this bit here. Oh, of course, there's a second pilot there. That's why we need two pilots. And more armor. Jesus, there's just layers upon layers upon layers of armor on this thing. You can just tell from looking at the instructions. And oh yeah, you see, you can swap out the rotating fan for this grill that, you know, I don't know, I guess somebody thought looks cooler. Can't say I really agree there. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, here we go. This armor piece covers this up, and it doesn't seem to do anything. I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe they're planning to come out with like an additional, like some sort of mechanical, like a weapon, you know, that you can plug in here that does something. But for now, it don't do nothing. Here on the last page, of course, we have a couple of photos to show you where the stickers are supposed to go. This isn't as clear as I'd like it to be. And then it just shows the gimmicks, which of course are just, you know, it walks and it has a lot of working pistons, and the fan here, and the Zoid's core, and the head light up, and it shows the two cockpits and the swappable pilot figures, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, you know how we do, folks. I'm going to put this thing together if I can somehow manage here, and then we're going to take a look at it in the photo booth.
Before we do that though, here are some tips for the build. First of all, I didn't notice this during the unboxing, but the sticker sheet actually comes with separate decals to build this as the Zenibus or the Gylos version. You can see here at the bottom that we get both emblems and also these stickers that just have the names of the two factions. Now, that's obvious enough, but if you look up here, you also have two different model designations. AZ-21 is what the Death Saurer was called in the NJR, and AZ-06 was its original designation. And if you look at the stickers on the right here, they also have AZ and APZ on them, so if you're a stickler for this kind of thing like me, don't get these mixed up. I'm not saying I did, but someone we know might have.
Also about how these caps work, first of all, this two separate parts here are purely just for like cosmetic purposes. This is the so-called inner cap from the instructions that I told you about earlier, and it just goes here on the inside, and you kind of have to make sure you push it all the way in. These sometimes don't want to actually stay inside, and if that happens, just get a new one. You have lots of spares by the time you're done building this kit, so if one of these doesn't fit perfectly, just get another one. Also, in order to attach them, we get this little tool that comes on one of the sprues. It's actually not the same wrench tool that the old Masterpiece kits and the AZ kits that have been released so far came with. And then you just, this goes on top here and you rotate it in place 90 degrees. 90 degrees clockwise to make it stick, 90 degrees counterclockwise to make it come loose. And that's pretty much all there is to these caps. They do come in 3 different types. These have a hole, these have a protruding thing here, and these are the ones that go on the top of the tail and are purely decorative. See, they just have a peg, and so you put the inner cap goes here, and then you just stick them on. They don't actually do anything.
Next, there's this ankle piece here. G3 on the left in this step of the instructions has these big fat pegs on it, and it's really important that you make sure they're all the way in. The more narrow sections at the end fit into smaller holes right next to where the number 2 here is, and if you don't seat these correctly, it may feel like you've pushed G3 all the way in, but you actually haven't. What happens as a result is that the foot won't be 100% stable, and as you can see here, the stabilizers really only clear one another by a millimeter or 2 when the feet are assembled correctly. If you don't attach the part I was talking about properly, the foot will tilt and the stabilizers get caught on each other. Now let's check out some gimmicks. First off, we have the fan on the back here, and as you can see, it both lights up and rotates really fast, much faster than the original version. Also notice how the back plate moves up and down. As I mentioned earlier in the video, you can swap the fan out for this grill here, which also looks pretty cool, but it really gives the appearance of something like a furnace, maybe? Which, I mean, it looks cool, I just don't know why it would be on a Death Saurer's back, if you see what I'm saying. Also, here's what's underneath. The clear red plastic has this texture molded into it that gives it this appearance like glowing embers or something. It's really cool and just one of a million details on this kit that they didn't have to do, but it's awesome that they did. Speaking of which, this red section on the neck, which is just one red chunk of plastic on the original, is actually made up of 6 separate parts that do this when the neck moves. And I've already used this clip of the leg, but just look at how everything moves here, the toes especially. It's subtle, but they actually spread apart when the foot touches the ground. And there's more.
So first of all, this is a relatively minor thing, but the jaw here is actually both posable and motorized. It moves this far, and when it walks, it'll also actually open and close, as you'll see in the walking footage. And so, when I was putting it together, I was kind of disappointed first because I thought the jaw was just posable and it wouldn't actually move its mouth, but of course it does. Then next, speaking of posable things, we have, of course, the fingers, which are all sitting on ball joints and can therefore be moved in a lot of different directions, allowing for some cool hand poses. They can also be rotated here, if you want to do that. Next, of course, we have the cockpit here and the pilot, who has flopped all over the place like he also does on the classic versions, actually. We have a second cockpit down here with another pilot. This one actually has this little control thing holding him in place. Also, these cannons move up and down while it walks. And then on the back here, we have all of these flaps here open. This one, and then here, this one actually opens in 2 places and reveals this beer can launcher here. And then also on the tail, They're a little hard to get open, but here we go. And this one, and this one, and I'll open the other two off camera. And then here you have all of these tail flaps open for the charged particle cannon pose, of course. The only problem with that is this one is supposed to be open for that as well. And I mean, it's not even close to staying open. And I've also tried locking it in place when these are apart with the neck forward, because that's really the charged particle cannon pose. But no dice, just straight up doesn't work. Another thing that's worth noting, and you'll see this in the walking video as well, is all of these gold and silver pistons here and here on the tail, and here on the legs and on the arms, and on the neck, and also these little silver ones here inside the torso. All of these move. They're all working. See here, they're all working, they all move, and it looks fantastic. Along with, of course, the as you'll see, the leg armor here is also mounted separately from the actual leg so that it moves, and then of course there's the neck movement and all that. And finally, we also have the Zoid's core, which is here in the chest, and that allows me to show you something else, which is that this power switch, now it's all the way in the off position, and actually has two on positions. If I move it forward just once, all that does is turn all the lights on, which hopefully you can see on camera. And among many other things, sorry, having trouble with the handling here. Among many other things, the Zoid's core also lights up, and then I can boop, put this back in the off position, and Bob's your uncle.
Now, comparisons. Here's the NJR version, first of all. You'll notice immediately that the red parts on the Advanced Zi models are much lighter, and it also has the two-tone armor with some pieces jet black and some very dark gray. The proportions are also pretty different. The original's legs are clearly much shorter with a longer torso. That doesn't translate to a height difference though. As you can see here, the two models are more or less exactly the same height. Now, here's the OJR. It's kind of funny how the new one's red pieces are actually a closer match to this version. It really kind of puts it in the middle between the OJR and the NJR in terms of its overall appearance. Oh, and here's the bloody Death Saurer. There's no reason for this comparison other than me wanting to show off that I have every version of the Death Saurer, but here it is. I also have the crystal version, but every time I take that one off the shelf, something on it breaks, so you'll just have to take my word for it. And of course, the most important comparison is to the Kotobukiya model. It's funny, I've never noticed before, but this version really has some odd proportions now that I look at it, but you know, those older Kotobukiya kids can be a bit weird that way. Anyway, let's see it in action. Yeah, if this doesn't give you the warm fuzzies, I don't know what to tell you. The neck moves forward, the mouth opens and closes, there's that red piece on the back of the neck that contracts and expands, the back armor moves, the leg armor pieces slide against each other, the toes move as the feet touch the ground, and if you look closely, the little cannons on the belly move up and down as well. It's just nuts, and it all looks super smooth as well. Now, partly because I just discovered that my NJR still walks, and partly because it actually makes sense, let's check this one out. Honestly, it looks fine, but there's certainly a jerky quality to the movement, and of course it doesn't do much except walk. The fan on the back is supposed to rotate, by the way, but the rubber band that drives that popped like 15 years ago. Now, the two of you who didn't skip the unboxing section of this video will remember I pointed out this weird gap in the neck here on the back of the box. Now, here's what this looks like in real life. As you can see, there's actually plenty of detail there to fill out the gap, and it looks really good. They just somehow managed to take the photo from the one angle where all these bits basically line up and they disappear into each other. Here's the standing version of that little Gunther Prosen figure. For something at this scale, the detail actually looks pretty damn good, and I'm half tempted to say I may have to try and paint this guy. Here's the seated version for the cockpit. Notice how this has individual strands of hair molded into it. Now, here's what's maybe the only kinda sorta complaint I have about this thing. The inner frame of the neck has all this cool detail molded into it, and the parts are made of gunmetal colored plastic, but once the armor's on, it's all gone. I don't know, I just feel like if this had been molded in red, like the visible inner frame parts on the limbs for example, you'd actually see it through those grills, but as it is, it just kind of disappears. Speaking of the collars though, here's a better look at what the different tones do for the model. You can see here how there's actually 3 shades of red, and of course the black and dark grey armor pieces actually contrast very nicely against each other. This is probably a design cue they've taken from the real grey Gundam models if you ask me, same as the sliding armor piece on the leg, but it totally works and it gives the model an even more detailed appearance.
Also, a quick look at these little guns here, because these are of course new versions of an old sprue that was included with a lot of the 80s Empire models. So let's take a look here. Yeah, these two are obviously supposed to be the same thing, but they are completely different in terms of proportions, although funnily enough they're exactly the same length. This is another one of these. This one, yeah, no, that's just this one again. Yeah, there's no equivalent of these two with the rectangular back here. It does come with, by the way, the slightly darker silver ones are the 80s ones. It does come with a sort of a reinterpretation of, I've always assumed that this was some sort of targeting device. This looks completely different, really. And then we also have, of course, the one with the hoses on the side. And see, this is the one from the 80s, and the hoses are actually tubes, whatever. They're actually separate from the main housing of the weapon. And here, they couldn't make that work. I don't know if the peg hole is, no, peg hole looks to be the same size. So this is really kind of a cop-out. Just in general, I honestly find, I don't know if it's just the color of the plastic, but the 80s ones just look a little bit sharper, which is really odd because I mean the molding technology is better, and generally speaking all the parts on the new Death Saurer look, I don't know if I say better, that's sacrilege, but obviously they're molded to better quality than this, but the gun's really kind of underwhelming. Also, in case you're wondering, by the way, with the exception of this one, these are all spares, because that sprue, if you saw in the unboxing, you actually get 2 of. And so, yeah, you end up with a lot of spare guns, which is kind of nice.
Right, so what do we think? First of all, this is the most complex motorized Zoid of all time. I think before this, it was either the Seismosaurus or the Gojulus Giga, depending on how you look at it, but this one clearly takes the #1 spot now. It's also a really fun build, but I don't know if I'd say it's exactly kit friendly. There are quite a few fiddly sections, and I would definitely recommend that you put batteries into the gearbox right at the start and occasionally test it as you attach the limbs to make sure everything works and you don't miss one out of the 15 pegs you were supposed to fit into the right places all at once. Having said that, it's kind of amazing to me how the way everything works here is still pretty much based around the same simple levers and rotating cranks that have driven Zoids really since they first came out 40 years ago. It's the same ingenious simplicity as always, there's just more of it. And also, you'll remember the gearbox really just has 4 rotating cranks, the lights, and the big lever that drives the neck. Everything else is mechanisms you actually build and not basically pre-made stuff that the gearbox does for you. And the overall appearance of the thing is just fantastic. Every detail from the original is here. It just seems like they looked at every part of it and said, okay, how can we make this cooler? And so you end up with a ton more detail, all the working pistons, and just in general how everything works, but it still 100% looks like the Death Saurer, and it moves more smoothly than the original. I also really like what they've done to the proportions with the longer legs and the tail not dragging, but your mileage may vary there. I know some people actually like the tail dragging on the ground because it's more evocative of the old Godzilla movies. Oh yeah, and they finally realized that Zoids with light up features need to have a lights only mode where you just turn on the lights and they don't walk. So, is this the best motorized Zoid of all time? Objectively, probably yes. It looks great, it's based on an all-time classic from the 80s, it's the most intricately engineered Zoid ever, and absolutely everything on it works. There's a case to be made for the original Masterpiece models because of the sound gimmick and the 2-stage movement, the latter of which is of course also something that the Zero Grisis and the King Gojulus had, but what overrides that for me is that everything cool that moves on the AZ Death Saurer is something you actually build. The Masterpiece Zoids were great, but first of all, the Shield Lagger actually got its head armor stuck all the time, so it was really only the Saber Tiger that worked properly. And they're also basically a really cool gearbox that did everything and you just stuck some parts on it. This one works the way I think a Zoid should work. I really almost can't believe that at this point in Zoid's history they come out with something like this that just takes everything that was always great about them and cranks it up to 12. And honestly, if you're a fan of Zoids, I know it's expensive, but you need one of these. And that's it for this one, folks. Hopefully my next video will be the finished build of the 2-toy Shield Lagger, and I've promised myself I'd complete that build before the year's over, but it'll probably be January until I can get that one on the channel. If you'd like to support me, there are Patreon and PayPal links in the description below, but just watching my videos all the way through and not skipping the ads also helps. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.